Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Liverpool Transfer Show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. We've just watched two back-to-back games as Liverpool faced Bilbao earlier on today. We'll speak about some of the standout performances in regards to that match, but we'll stick to the script and speak about some transfer news as well. So, no official news, but we've definitely got some developments in regards to potential departures and potential incomings at Liverpool as well. So, we'll start with the first rumor, and that is regarding Darwin Nunez. Now, there's a couple of clubs that have shown very strong interest in the striker, and that is Al Hilal and AC Milan. So, in regards to Al Hilal, they are ready to step up their pursuit to sign the Liverpool striker. They are willing to pay approximately £61 million, which is 70 million in euros. They are currently in talks with Darwin Nunez's camp in order to finalize or agree on personal terms as they anticipate some interest from European clubs. And one of the European clubs is AC Milan, who have made an unofficial approach to Liverpool in regards to signing Darwin Nunez. They've not sort of placed an offer yet, but they have begun talks and would like to get a deal done. Now, whether that's a loan with an obligation to buy, it remains to be presented. Right now, it's quite unclear. So, the big question is, where does Darwin Núñez end up? Could today's performance, improve, or should I say, help us add a few more millions to the price tag? I'm not too sure. But in terms of where we stand with Darwin Núñez, I think he is on the verge of leaving the club. If I'm being honest, I think the most likely destination would be Al Hilal. They've shown the most interest, I would say, in signing Darwin Nunez, and I think they would present the best financial package for the player as well as Liverpool in terms of the transfer fee. So I think that is the club that he'll end up signing. AC Milan, of course, is a very, you know, historic, very, very successful Italian club, but in terms of what they can offer for Liverpool, a loan move wouldn't really appeal to us at this stage. And even with the obligation to buy clause, I don't know if it's something that AC Milan can afford in the end because we would want at least £50 million for Darwin Núñez. If that's not something that's affordable for them in 12 months' time, then there's no point of doing the deal. So remains to be seen, where he ends up. I think AC Milan on paper would be a great fit in terms of the heritage of that club, in terms of what they've done over the years, in terms of the fan base. I think he'll be a great success there. But Liverpool have to think from a business point of view, and I think moving to Al Hilal will help Liverpool gain the extra finances that we need to get other deals over the line. But also, Darwin Núñez is able to earn a life-changing amount of money by moving over to Saudi. And look, he's 25, 26 years of age. He can easily come back to Europe in a couple of years' time if things don't work out. And then he can continue to build his legacy on his return to Europe one day. So for me, it would make the most sense for him to move over to Saudi. He'll get to earn a good paycheck out of it. He'll be able to play in a league that's growing, that is improving on a seasonal basis. And look, he's only 26 years of age, so he can always come back and play in Europe. Let's say he comes back in 2 years' time, he'll be 28. So 28 is normally your prime years uh, that are ahead of you or that are in front of you. So I think, that could be an option for him. So maybe in the short term, he views Saudi as, a move that will secure his, family's future in the long term. But at the same time, he'll be playing football where the league is improving. They are signing more high-profile players there. So why not just see it where move over to Saudi, see how it goes, and if he's not pleased with his current club or not happy with the situation there, then he can always, engineer a move to Europe in the short term or in the long term even. So I think he'll end up in Saudi, but feel free to tell me in the chat where you think Darwin Núñez will end up moving to at the end of this window. Some fans, in terms of Liverpool fans, will still have a bit of hope that he could stay. I think that should proceed, especially with our hot pursuit of signing this person here, and that is Alexander Isak. So, in terms of his current situation, he's apparently returned to training today. I'm not sure if he has trained with the squad or on his own. My indication would be that he's probably been left isolated at the club because Eddie Howe made some comments about Isak quite recently, and in quotes, Eddie Howe said, "You have to earn the right to train with us. We are Newcastle United. The player has a responsibility to be part of a team and part of a squad. You have to act in the right way." So that's also at play here. We will make sure that any player does that to earn the right to train with the group. No player can expect to act poorly and train with the group as normal. So that would indicate that he's not been involved with the complete squad today. So that also paints a picture in terms of his future because it looks like there's no going back for Isak. He's made his stance very clear. He's unhappy with the current situation and he wants to move to Liverpool Football Club. So Newcastle need to do what's best, and that is to allow the player who is not happy at the club to move on, and in return, they get a huge amount of money that can be reinvested into their squad. So the big question is, do we expect a second bid from Liverpool? I certainly think we will. I think we'll get one in the next day or two. I really feel like, that second bid is going to be the final nail in the coffin, and that will secure the deal of Isak joining Liverpool. So I think we'll get a second bid very, very soon. And also today, someone has been seen in the crowd. You can see the arrow pointing at the gentleman there. That is supposed to be Isak's agent. So he was seen today at Anfield, and Richard Hughes was also in attendance. So maybe, they're having some discussions as we currently speak on the show. So that's why I feel like the signs are there, and I expect a bid to take place in the coming days. Um, and before we move on, just going to go through some of the comments. Hooks 19B, obviously it says Saudi is the Prem's get out jail card. Yeah, it is because we get a lot of money from selling players over there. And he says, think the Newcastle squad will still on holiday till tomorrow. No, I don't think they'll be on holiday. They've just come back from a preseason tour. So, in regards to maybe coming back from a preseason tour, I think they arrived already. So I'm not too sure if that is factual. I think they have already made their way today. Today was their first day of training, from what I've heard. So um, that's why Eddie Howe is very adamant that with these players, they have to earn their worth, and that's a dig at Isak that he needs to show that he's committed to the cause. Right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll see, what happens with Isak, but I'm very, very confident that we'll make a bid in the coming days. And don't be surprised if a deal is finalized by end of the week. And my prediction, as I mentioned in last night's show, is that I see him starting for Liverpool against Bournemouth in the opening day of the season. So that is on the 15th of August. So 11 days away. Let's see if my prediction comes true. But in terms of Newcastle, they have made some strides in recent hours or maybe in a day. And that is in regards to signing a new player, and that is Benjamin Sesko. So they have made some progress and they have placed a new improved bid, so a second bid for the striker. And this is what was tweeted from Fabrizio Romano about an hour ago. Newcastle have sent official bid to Red Bull Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko, worth 90 million euro package. So it's 80 million, which is around 69.6 million pounds plus 10 million add-on. So in total, it will be just under 80 million. And that is the bid that has been tabled from Newcastle. So no decision yet from the player, but we have heard some encouragements that Sesko is happy to accept that deal. So only time will tell if that is true. I think in the end, Sesko will join Newcastle United. I think that is going to be his next destination. I think United have not quite pulled out of the deal, but I don't think they want to increase the bid or claim a further stance to try and get the player at all costs. I think Newcastle is most likely to be his next destination, and he will be signing for the club as Isak's replacement. They're also in line to sign another striker in Wissa, who will be on paper the replacement for Callum Wilson. So Sesko and Wissa will be the new two strikers for Newcastle United. And for Liverpool, Isak will be joining Liverpool Football Club very soon. That is my thoughts there, and that's my prediction. So let's see what happens. But I do think Sesko to Newcastle will be happening very, very soon as well. On to the next rumor, and that is regarding Marc Guehi. So it's been communicated to the media that Crystal Palace have set a price tag of £50 million for Marc Guehi, with club chairman Steve Parish refusing to lower the price tag. Liverpool are only willing to bid around £40 million for the Palace defender. So it'll be interesting to see if Liverpool, change their stance in the near future, or do they walk away from the deal. But at the minute, we've also heard there's a new club that have shown interest, and that's Newcastle. They've thrown their hat in the mix, and they want to try and sign Marc Guehi. I'm sure you guys will remember they did their utmost last season with four bids to get the Palace defender over to Tyneside. It never happened. So the big question is, are they going to hijack the deal from Liverpool to get some revenge in regards to the whole Isak fiasco, or will Liverpool's pull blow them away like it did with the Ekitike deal? Not to sound cheeky or cocky, but I think it will be the latter. I think Liverpool and Mark Guehi have already had discussions in the back in regards to agreeing a move to Liverpool. So I think it's just a matter of time that we come to terms with Crystal Palace, or Steve Parish in particular, and try and thrash out a deal that suits all parties. I believe that we will get the deal done for Mark Guehi, and then if I was to make a prediction, I think we will end up signing him for about £45 million. I think that would be the middle ground. That way, Mark Guehi will get his move to Liverpool, and I think that will be enough funds for Steve Parish to find an adequate replacement, which they have already identified in Ousmane Diomande. So I think that will be the Mark Guehi replacement, and Liverpool will end up signing Mark Guehi. So let's see what happens. I hope to get some sort of developments in regards to Gay to Liverpool, because we are in need of defenders. Today we played Robertson, Endo at centre back. Mark Gay would add quality and experience to that lineup. So hopefully we can get that over the line. Next player that has been linked with Liverpool is, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce it, is Konstantinos uh, Kouliarakis. So that is the Greek defender that plies his trade in the Bundesliga for Wolfsburg. So apparently Liverpool have been monitoring his situation, and he has a price tag of 50 million euros, which is around 42 million. Now, thoughts on the player, does he fit the ball? I've not seen too much of him, if I'm being honest. So that's something I'm going to have to do a bit more research if the links are to be true. But it seems to be a strong left-footed centre back. So maybe that would be a good option for us to have in our team. I would only be sort of happy with this signing if it was him and Marc Guehi, because then I feel like we've then got a very solid quartet of defenders there. If it's an alternative to Marc Guehi, I don't know. I will still have some question marks just because I'm not fully aware of the player, and I'm not sure if he will adjust to the Premier League instantly. Because I do feel like we need numbers in that defensive position. Marc Guehi is pretty much, the player that ticks all the boxes in every department, whether it's from a legal point of view in terms of the homegrown quota, or if it's based on his ability on the ball as well. So let's see. But he's a player that I'm going to do some research on to see if he's any good. If you're aware of him in the chat or in the comments, please let me know. Is Kouliarakis a good fit for Liverpool? I'd love to hear from you guys in regards to the Greek defender. On to the next rumor, and that is Chiesa. So the latest rumor that we're hearing is that Napoli have reignited their interest in signing Chiesa after missing out on Swiss forward Dan Ndoye, who's just recently joined Nottingham Forest. So the big question is, could Napoli be his next destination? It could be. I'm not entirely sure, because I believe that they have, made some signings. I think Noah Long was a player that was earmarked to join. I don't know if that move ended up being official, but they did have some targets in line. Uh, but nonetheless, Chiesa is a player that is capable of playing in multiple positions, and I feel like he would be a good addition to their squad. So whether it happens or not, it remains to be seen. I think financially, you know, 15 million should be enough to secure his signature, and that should be enough money for Napoli to bring to the table. They did make the sale of Praskelia in January, so they do have the funds. They haven't blown all of that money away. So I do expect a deal to be done at some point. He made an appearance today. He looked all right. I don't mean to be rude, looked a bit out of shape. The other players just seem to be a bit sharper, a bit more sort of active in comparison to Chiesa. So maybe I don't feel like Chiesa uh, has a long-term future at the club. I think maybe it's best for him to move back to Italy and play his trade there. Just doesn't fit the dynamics of the team or the new way of playing as well under Arnold Slot. So I feel like Chiesa may be on the move, and it's probably only a matter of time that we get some official news. So yeah, I expect Chiesa to leave at some point in the next week or two. Another player that's been linked with a move away from the club is Harvey Elliott. Now, the latest team to register their interest is Red Bull Leipzig, who are considering a move for Harvey Elliott as they try to find a replacement for the departing Xavi Simons, who is reportedly set to join Chelsea. My thoughts on Elliott moving over to Red Bull Leipzig. Not sure if it's the right fit. I feel like it's a team that always has good technical players, so it could be where he does really well there. Is it a move that appeals to him? I'm not too sure. I think he'd rather stay in the Premier League or stay in the UK and play for a team like Tottenham, who have been strongly linked with him. Wolves were linked with him a few months ago, and maybe a return to Fulham could be on the cards as well. So I feel like he would favour a move within the Premier League, but if the options aren't presented, then maybe he'd want to branch out and move over to the Bundesliga, which a lot of British players are doing nowadays. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, in today's game, he was walking on the pitch and clapping towards the crowd like may have been his last appearance for Liverpool. So if that's the case, then maybe Harvey Elliott is departing. I'll be a little bit sad to see him leave. I think he does have good ability as a player, and I feel like he would have provided great cover for us for the likes of Salah and maybe Florian Wirtz in terms of that number 10 role. So he would have been a great squad option for us. But he does need to think about his individual career, and if he feels like a move away from Liverpool is the best thing for him at this stage, then we have to kind of support his decision. So let's see what happens, Elliot. But I'm sure we'll get some sort of news very, very soon. Now, in terms of today's performances, there were certainly some standout performances against Bilbao. So just to speak about certain players, so I feel like one of the standout performers in the first game was most definitely Rio. Um, Scored literally a minute and a half into the game, very direct, ran with the ball, hit nicely into the bottom corner. His finishing is, he's not blasting them or anything, but it's very precise, very clinical. So I like the way he shoots in those kind of ranges. For me, he was very very good. Slightly fizzled out in the second half, but generally, I thought he was really really positive, very direct. Tonioni playing in a slightly different position, playing alongside Robertson at centre back. For me, he's just in that same mode as Gravenberch, where I think his predominant position will be as a DM. I feel like he can, cover over that centre back role. Even stylistically, I feel like he has the qualities to be like a Gravenberch type of player, where he'll use his physique, as he gets older, use his strengths in terms of fending off any challenges from a physical point of view, but also passing range. He does have a good range of passing, very good on the ball in terms of ball carrying as well. So I feel like he could be like an understudy for Gravenberch um, in this coming season, but also maybe next season as well. So for me, the future is bright in terms of having the likes of Rio and Nioni coming through the ranks. And then Ekitike, for me, really polished performance today. Provided the assist for that Salah goal there, which showed his burst of speed. For such a tall striker, he's very quick on and off the ball. So for me, there's more to come. That's a player that I've got really high hopes for, and very very positive performance from the French striker. Florian Wirtz, another good performance from him. Very silky on the ball, makes things look very easy. Very impressed. I'm very excited to see how he does in the Premier League because I feel like he's gonna blow people away. He's that good. People are really underestimating his impact as a signing. I think because we've done it so very early on, so people aren't, you know, having it fresh in their minds that they've signed a world class player because he generally is that guy. He's generally that level as well. Couple of honorable mentions as well. I don't have the graphics on the screen, but Gravenberch for me was very, very impressive. Really enjoyed his performance today. Looked very sharp, very dynamic on and off the ball. Got himself in goal scoring opportunities. Built a good sort of understanding with Szoboszlai, and then there was times where he was doing 1-2s with Mohamed Salah on the right hand side. So uses energy very well, very good on the ball, very good in terms of interceptions. So great, great performance from him. And I have to say, Szoboszlai matched him as well. Szoboszlai showed a great passing range. He used some exquisite long passes, uses energy very well. So quick off the ball. He'll place a pass and then all of a sudden he's on the edge of the box. Like he brings that sort of that athleticism that we probably lacked over the years, but he has that in abundance. So for me, it's going to be a very interesting team selection for the course of next season where who's going to be first choice out of McAllister, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai? Because right now, maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion, I think Szoboszlai is undroppable. The way he's performed in preseason, I feel like he has to be the first name on the team sheet. And then alongside him, who is it going to be? Is it going to be Gravenberch? Is it going to be McAllister? I feel like Gravenberch and Szoboszlai have actually shown a great combination. So, obviously it's not always going to be those two on a week in, week out basis, but I like the partnership between Szoboszlai and Gravenberch. I think they suit each other's game really well. And I feel like we have energy in that middle of the park. We have physicality. Both are quite, tall and big guys, so they can handle themselves. And I think I like the sort of the tactical approach where Gravenberch will drop deep, and then you see Szoboszlai roaming around, trying to cause havoc in the final third. So for me, it's a great balance. It's a great headache for Anslot to have going forward. But those two midfielders, especially in the first half, performed really well for me. And Frimpong, I feel like Frimpong had a very impactful game. Seems to have formed a great partnership with Mohamed Salah on that right hand side. Both are very far up the pitch, but that's the beauty of their relationship. Where you know, if Frimpong is in a position where he's very further up the pitch, but he needs to track back, his recovery speed is immense. Like there's no one that's going to catch him. And wingers are going to find him very, very tricky to play up against. So for me, he's shown a great level, and I feel like there's more to come from Frimpong. So yeah, very, very excited for him as well as the other players. I feel like today was a very good game, especially the second one that took place at 8 p.m. Uh, because we played the game like it was a competitive game. There was great energy, real intensity. Um, might be vulnerable in terms of defensive positions, but I feel like we're just trying to build the dynamics within the team, and maybe we're a bit more too front-footed in terms of our sort of attacking credentials. But it's football that we probably have enjoyed over the years, and it's going to be easier on the eyes. Not going to be as calm, as collected as last season, possibly. We might be playing not heavy metal football, but close enough to playing, that champagne football, as some people like to refer to. So yeah, I'm very excited in terms of how Liverpool are going to perform next season. Uh, and the final, not rumor, but the final story is regarding Will Wright. So Will Wright, we pretty much signed him a couple of days ago and then unveiled him officially yesterday, which is the picture that you see on the screen. He made his debut today, almost scored in a one-on-one situation. So what a crazy 48 hours for the young player. In terms of the signing, I think he's a player that's been very highly regarded in the country. Arsenal look like they were favourites to sign the striker. In fact, they presented the better financial package to get him on board, but he was blown away by Liverpool's project and the prospect of joining the Premier League champions. And I feel like he's seen how the club operate. He's seen that young players do get opportunities at Liverpool. So because of that, I feel like he feels like this is the best place for him. So I'm excited to see how he evolves playing for the youth teams or maybe even the under 23s because I do feel like he's got something about him. Today I saw that he had a great first touch, good movement. So for me, he's an exciting prospect. So I look forward to seeing him in action a lot more in the course of next season. But yeah, it looks like Liverpool are finding the right players, they're embedding them the right way, and hopefully, we'll get to see Will Wright in some course in the near future. So yeah, positive sign for Liverpool. And that is the final rumor. I'm just going to go through some of the last comments and then we'll close the show. Um, we've already read that. Hooks 19 says Harvey should go to a club where he's first choice. The club that he's linked with, if he goes over to Tottenham, yeah, I'm not sure if he'll be first choice because of Madison, unless Madison ends up playing on the left wing and replaces Son in that lineup, which is a possibility. So therefore, they'll need a new number 10, and Harvey Elliott could fit that bill. Wolves were linked with him, but I'm not sure in terms of what their current situation is. Leipzig, I think they'll have a replacement there in terms of Harvey Elliott because he'll come in and take over Savvy Simmons' position. So yeah, so in those scenarios, he ends up becoming first choice. So it needs to be what appeals to him, what suits him. Does he want to move back to London? In that case, it will be a Tottenham move, or is he willing to make that big jump and move over to another league, another country, where you have to learn a new language and adapt to new surroundings? That's going to be a decision that he's going to have to make. So should be interesting. But I thought maybe he would have stayed, but it looks like it's still on the cards that he will be leaving the club this summer. Um, Hooks 19 says Dom might play all over the pitch just to get him on a multi tool. Yeah, but I don't want him to be a versatile player. I don't want him to be a player that is a jack of all trades and we just fit him, whenever we want him to. I feel like it needs to be where, he finds his position. And I feel like him playing this sort of deep, lying playmaker slash midfield role, uh, it really suits his skill set. I feel like he's got a new lease of life in this position where we're really utilizing his best skills. We're utilizing his stamina, his energy, his athleticism, and he's showing that in abundance. And he's finding himself in good goal scoring positions where, if he was playing a bit more further up, he's probably required to be a bit more intricate. Whereas now, if he's playing a deep line role, he's going to make runs that are unexpected. And I feel like that's what is going to catch teams off guard where he arrives in the box slightly later than normal and ends up, having a shot on goal and hopefully, adds more goals to his tally. That's one game that he needs to focus on is improving his goals and assists because he has the quality. We saw that goal he scored a few weeks ago in pre-season where he dinked it over uh, Milan, the goalkeeper for AC Milan, into the top bin. So he has that in abundance. So for me, um, right now, the way he's performed preseason, he looks like he's raring to go. And for me, he looks undroppable. So let's see, what Arne sees as the best combination or the combination that starts next week against Bournemouth. I do expect it to rotate a lot in the coming season, but at the same time, um, I like the fact that this is a headache that the coach has. It's a good headache. It's not one that you're like, oh, what do I do? You want to have players fighting for their position, so it's only right that you have a squad that when you make those changes, it's still a same level. There's not a drop down in level when it comes to um, replacing players or rotating players because that's going to be um, what's going to differentiate us or put us to one side or put us in a different league in comparison to everyone else because we've got such a great squad. So I'm really excited. I feel like we've got the options, and a lot of us fans might have said earlier on this season that the number 6 role or the midfield double pivot role should be a priority that we should try and sign another player. But if you've added Szoboszlai in that mix, it's Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, and Doe Jones. That's 5 solid players. Plus, Bajcetic may end up staying at the club because he's currently injured. And then maybe McConnell stays or he goes out alone. But that's still enough quality of players to play in those 2 roles there. And then you've got the likes of Verts playing a bit more advanced. You've got Szoboszlai who can play that role as well. Let's not forget he is capable of doing that. You've got Jones that can play in that role. If Harvey Elliott says he's an option, but I think he will most likely leave this summer. So plenty of options, for our midfield as well as our advanced midfield role. So yeah, very, very exciting to the how Arsenal is building a squad. We seem to be buying a lot of technicians, a lot of players that can play in different roles, but they've got different qualities about them. Where when they get the ball, it's not predictable football. They're very silky. They have a special or unique skill set that separates them from everyone else. And right now, we're just gelling everyone together, and it looks like it could be a combination that might be where we end up watching some of the best football that I've seen over the last few years. So exciting times to be a local fan, to say the least. LFC 20 big up says it says in the bomber, Newcastle bid for Sesko has been accepted. Let me see if I can bring that on the screen. Uh, if that is the case, that should really help us in regards to a move for Isak. Um, there we go. So you're correct. So a bid has been accepted in the last 20 minutes, according to Indy. So if that is true, then do not be surprised if we get an Isak bid tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be waiting for those kind of announcements, and then once we do, we will have a show and discuss the details uh, as a collective. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Hooks 19 and thank you to LFC 20 for your comments. They appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming shows, I do plan on doing a transfer show tomorrow, so it will be based on any breaking news. Um, and then, yeah, it'll be pretty much transfer shows for the rest of the week. And then we'll also have the watch along for the community show between Crystal Palace and Liverpool. So another one to look forward to, another chance to win some silverware. So yeah, it should be a good occasion. And LFC 20 says, be obviously big up yourself, LFC 20 as always. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.